Hello people, this is Marcello Cicchini, and in this video I'm going to show you the operations on this Cessna 172 with a G3X and a glass-cockpit panel. I fly with the Loy and I, January 27th, 2025. All the major settings and flight controls and radio switches and communications that I did. It was a beautiful day to Friday Harbor from Paine Field, and here it is. Starting the engine is, roughly these situations going on to start. Practically is the full mixture. Throttle is 1/8 open. Carburetor heat cold. Practically this primer is injecting fuel in the intake manifold of the carburetor, especially when it's cold. Now I primed it 3 times. And as you can see, you pull in the small reservoir that it has inside has a field up with fuel, and then inject, and it needs time to do this process to do it properly.
Switch on. Yep. Hay que grabarme eso. Yes.
Navigation switch on for radios and avionics. And here, essentially, after fueling, I put the total amount of gallons on board, and also next to it the fuel flow, the consumption, and it's exaggerating 9 gallons per hour to make sure we are in the safety side of the equation. And here the altimeter setting on the G5, which is connected with a G3X, and so switching the altimeter there, it automatically switches to all the systems in the airplane. And this aircraft is equipped with the Garmin G3X, as I said, the 10 inches touchscreen primary flight display, replacing traditional analog gauges with a modern glass cockpit. The system provides pilots with enhanced situational awareness, integrating flight data, engine monitoring, and navigation information into a single intuitive interface. This aircraft features also a Garmin GTN-650, the GPS, a Garmin GNC-255, which is a navigation COM radio, and a Garmin G5 as a backup. This G5 has a 4-hour autonomy in case of battery failure. The system offers reliable communication and navigation capabilities, essential for both VFR and IFR operations. The aircraft is also fitted with a Garmin GFC500, 2-axis autopilot with electric trim, providing smooth and precise flight control. Additionally, the Garmin GTX345 Mod S transponder with ADS-B in and out enhances situational awareness by displaying traffic and weather information. And here in essence I'm climbing in manual, and I'm going to set the autopilot to climb 500 feet per minute without wheel, and you can see the notch there, 500 feet per minute to 4,500 feet, and now I am at 2,000 and climbing. And then I hit autopilot, activating the autopilot without button, and it's set in vertical speed. And here I'm going to set the heading in autopilot also. And here you can see when I activate the autopilot, the notch on the heading was to the right, and the airplane started turning to that heading, and I corrected by turning the wheel to the heading that I want to go, and the airplane started turning to that heading. And here, still in autopilot, I'm going to set the navigation. So I set the waypoint Kilo Foxtrot Hotel Romeo, which is Friday Harbor, and enter and direct activate. And as you can see here, the mode is GPS, is the navigation system, and heading is 298, but we are not in heading mode right now. We are in navigation course 306 and autopilot. And as you can see here, reaching 4,500, the Autopilot levels the aircraft at that altitude, and you can see the wheel there, the trim is automatic, trimming the elevator behind.
Bueno, vamos a ver. It's
And as you can see, I have to reduce the RPMs to keep that level flight, not to exceed certain speed. And here I'm switching to the weather information in Friday Harbor, which is this frequency shared by other airports like Orcas Island or Lopez or other airports there in the area. And now here I'm switching to the frequency that is shared also by Friday Harbor with other airports. That's the CTA frequency where pilots communicate their intentions. So, but here you see I have COM1 and COM2. This radio is COM1 and the one below is COM2, which is flight following 118.20, the Whidbey Island radio. By clicking the COM2 mic, I can talk to that radio. COM1 is only listening, so I am monitoring. That is my airport of destination to make sure that I have a certain situational awareness before I get there. So practically you see these two lights turn on, COM1 and COM2. You can listen to both radios, and obviously you have one green light turn on in the mic because you can talk to only one. But switching to COM1 mic, you can talk to Friday Harbor and you can continue listening to COM2 if you like. And here practically I am approaching Friday Harbor, so I will descend with the autopilot. So I set the altitude that I want to initially target, 2,500. And I also, with the wheel downwards, I set 500 feet per minute descent. And you can see there the notch sets the target and the vertical speed is set. And so what I do is I reduce the power to not to exceed certain speed. And now approaching Friday Harbor, I disengage the autopilot by clicking this red button. And here practically I am maneuvering for entering the right downwind of the 34 runway in Friday Harbor. Some of the maneuvers and controls visible here. And this is a carburetor heat essentially to avoid in low revolutions in certain temperatures ice built in the carburetor intake, provoking engine failure. And so practically hot air gets in the intake to avoid this occurrence.
final 3-4 stop Friday.
Oh my god. Estamos. Perfect!
And here flaps up and the carburetor heat comes in, gas goes idle as needed because I will have to fast taxi to the end of the runway 34 in Friday. And this is our way back. So this story was like kind of uncomfortable. We were flying back from Friday Harbor to Paine Field. So on the ground, this display was bright but wasn't bothering at all. And I didn't realize that the setting of this brightness was manual, wasn't automatic. So as I climbed and I established my climb and with autopilot set, I start working on reducing the brightness because practically with the darkness outside and the brightness inside, it was kind of uncomfortable because whatever could be visible is impossible with the brightness from the inside of the cockpit. So this is how you do it. Practically you go menu twice and set up display and you can choose auto or manual, and in the manual mode you can reduce manually from 100% to whatever is comfortable to you. And now it's kind of better. And here there's an option when you navigate, you can fly inside certain boxes which are digitally displayed on the PFD, and it's kind of neat and nice to have this visual representation of your route. And you can go here, menu, more options, and pathways. And here it is, you can see like you're flying inside boxes. And now see, the altitude set is 5,500 and we are flying 5,500. But if you set a different altitude like here, you can see that this path goes down to suggest that you should go lower if you want to follow this setting. And as you go up 5,600, the squares are kind of higher. When I get to preparing landing in Paine Field, I just set a lower altitude like here, 3,500, and you can see here the pathways is suggesting to reduce power and descent. Now practically I set the parent altitude 1,600 in Paine Field, and you can see the pathways goes farther down. And as you can see here, for example, I have the autopilot off, but the active plan is to navigate to Paine Field, and the GPS is active. Even though I'm flying manually here, the navigation runs independently without using the autopilot. So I hope this video amused you a little bit and show you how some features of this G3X and all the other components of this cockpit is helping pilots to make life easier. There will be more videos like this. I have a lot of material flying with this aircraft and filming the cockpit, so I'm gonna extract other information.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Kilometro per
Each fly has its own story and its own situations that are special, like in this one, for example, the brightness of this display at night. Okay people, thank you for listening and watching, and see you in the next flight, and I wish you always blue skies to you. Thank you, Marcello Cicchini, bye.